Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I'm talking to you from the back deck. The flowers are looking kind of pretty. I've got an amazing clematis going back there, so just thought I'd enjoy it. It gets, all the curtains are closed inside the house, so it's just kind of dreary in there. A couple of interesting decisions about books this week. I have got one that I decided that I think I'm done with this author, and not in a negative kind of a way. Kate Morton. Well, I should stop rocking. It's going to make you sick. Kate Morton. Now, she was something that I had on my follow-up list, and I wanted to go through her backlog and just, see what else was going. I was very happy with my reading of her different books. She has The Forgotten Garden, The Distant Hours, The Secret Keeper, and The Lake House. And though this one is The House at Riverton, and this is not one that I have read. And I was thinking, I just wanted to make sure I had read everything that I'm just not in the right mood for this right now. I think this feels like something I'd rather, it feels like a bit of a winter read in a sense. We've got Grace Bradley. Was just a girl when she began working as a servant at Riverton House in 1914. For years she worked for the daughters Hannah and Emmeline. Then, during a glittering evening party at the house, the body of a young poet was found. The only witness to this shocking suicide were Hannah and Emmeline. Decades later, when Grace is living out her days in a nursing home, she receives a visit from a young director who's making a film about the events of that summer. It takes Grace back to Riverton and reawakens her memories of the last days of the Edwardian aristocratic privilege. So I don't have anything wrong with any of that. And Kate Morton is a good writer, but I just don't feel like that kind of a story right now. I think I've read several that have this kind of a, what do you call it? It's like, does the servant know something that she shouldn't? Are the rich people protecting the servant? It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel fresh. It doesn't feel new to me. So I'm going to set this aside. What I do in that case is I write the book down in my journal of book stuff, and I put a circle around beside it in a colored marker, and that means that it's something I want to go back to. So whenever I have one of those things where I'm just trying to follow through but not right this second, in a few months from now, I just draw these larger circles in a colored marker that lets me visually really see, and if there's a check mark through it or an X, then I know I've made a decision and I've done what I need to do. So then at the end of the year, what I tend to do in December is just go through and look for all those circles, and December tends to be a bit of a cleanup month, I guess. That will probably come back into the picture in December, maybe. But it just feels like it's been done an awful lot, and I'm not, yeah. The other book, I was so looking forward to this. It took me forever to get around to buying it, and I definitely wanted to own it because I had read the second book in the series by Connie, Willis, and what's the second? Does it have all the titles in here? Well, it has all her books in here, but it doesn't really say which ones belong to what series. So this is definitely, I'm telling you the truth. I was reading the address, 2023 Del Rey Road. And I thought it was published in 1992. The first book I really enjoyed, and I thought, I'm going to go back to the first book. What we've got is people who are time traveling back, and they're trying to rescue, in most of the cases, they're trying to rescue an artifact that is significant for the survival of the history as we know it. So last last book they were trying to get some kind of artifact that belonged in a church, and there was a whole bunch of politics attached to it as to whether it should be rescued from the past or not. So there were those who were saying, it needs to stay in the past, and there was those who were like, no, we need it. It was complicated. It was a complicated system of going back into the past and being retrieved, and having sort of travel hangovers, and it was a World War II, trying to get back to Coventry Cathedral before it was bombed. And so there was the tension of the war and the bomb, and missing the necessary rendezvous, and so it was a kind of complex little plot. And this one, Curvin, who's supposed to be the main character, she's preparing to travel back in time to study one of the deadliest errors in humanities. She needs to invent an alibi for a woman traveling alone. For her instructors in the 21st century, it means painstaking calculations and careful monitoring of the rendezvous locations. But a crisis strangely linking past and future strands Curvin in a bygone age, as her fellows try desperately to rescue her. In this era of superstition and fear, Curvin, barely of age herself, finds that she's become an unlikely angel of hope during one of history's darkest hours. Well, this book doesn't tell you like anything about what's really going to be happening. She does go back to the 14th century. She's definitely more than a young girl. She's a university postgrad. So in this era, or in this book, historians are more time travelers. Definitely, they studied their eras, but they have centuries that they've ranked from 1 to 10, and if it's really dangerous, it's a 10. And the 1300s are considered to be a 10, so nobody's really gone back. So she's done all this studying in the 21st century, I guess, and goes back and discovers, oh boy, she's like blowing it big time. I don't know, I got to page 169 actually, and said I've had enough. It took to page 51 before we got these two grumpy old people who were waiting for the first delivery of this girl. She wasn't even in the space, she wasn't even the point of view that we were seeing, and they just crabbing on and on about whether she should go or shouldn't go, and the politics behind the yeses and the nos, and who's responsible for what kind of attitude. And anyways, they were just two old grumps in chairs carrying on for 51 pages. It was slightly setting up the technology, but not really. It wasn't until we got probably around page 80 that we're starting to understand the technology. But if you've all watched, what is that with Captain Kirk, beam me up, Scotty. You got to be transported. It's not that complicated. It doesn't take 100 pages to figure out what the bloody technology is. Anyway, she gets sent back to the 13th century, and they've set her up as they think the average traveling person would be. Well, her clothes aren't torn. They aren't muddy. She's got a full set of teeth. That's just me interpolating, I guess, and thinking, this doesn't make any sense, based on the book that I had read previously, because they had done better care in making sure that the garments, I think what they had done is they'd actually gone back to the 1940s and picked up the garments from that era, so they weren't replicas, I guess. Anyhow, she finally gets to 1354 or whatever it is, and there seems to be, both in her own proper era and in the era she's going back to, there seems to have been some kind of a transmission of an influenza, which is surprising to the people in the 21st century, because they've been inoculated against pretty well everything. It's pretty much a disease-free kind of a society. So apparently time travel has this filter that doesn't allow a disease to come through. Within hours people have this disease, and it is not making any sense to me. And then she seems to have carried it back, which means that somehow in the process, instantaneously, she's gone from disease-free to a carrier, even though there's an incubation period. That's pretty much what 169 pages has given to me. I'm so sad. I'm so disappointed. It was an expensive book. And I guess I'm abandoning ship. I might, if I'm really feeling pissy, I might go back and read a few more chapters here and there. Just, do you ever have those days where you just think, I'm in a really bad mood, I'm going to find something to piss me off? I think I'll put that in that particular category. This will piss you off book. So now she has got all these other books that I'm thinking, do I want to follow through and see whether I like her as an author or not? So I have a feeling no. Firewatch, I think, was the one that I had read previously, and that's the one that makes sense because they were looking to keep the buildings from burning during the bombing in London, England. So I don't know. That's a disappointment. If any of you have read any of her earlier works, let me know, because it's a pretty harsh abandonment. Now, I did read a book that I liked. Eden Robinson, she's a Canadian author. It's the second book in the Trickster series, and the first one is Son of a Trickster. And I think the third one is called Return of Trickster. So we have got Jared, who turns out, how do you do book 2 without spoiling book 1? He's magical. He's connected to the Trickster, and I suppose that's like not really a giveaway. He, in the previous book, had quite a difficult journey with a crazy, batshit crazy mom who's a witch, and then her current boyfriend, I guess, who's a drug dealer. Jared does not come from a middle-class background. He comes from a very, very fractured, unstable, toxic kind of a childhood. And he has these grandmothers who are doing their best to help him out as much as they can, given that his mom is just like, she doesn't want any interference from anybody. She's really cut off her family, and significantly the females in her family, she's cut them off. So and he decides to sober up in book 1. And we see his really difficult descent into drinking, and then the efforts that he's making to regain sobriety. He also has been pretty oblivious to the magic around him and his relationship to it, and whether he has powers or not. And he has a girlfriend who's definitely got magic. He can see the auras and the fireflies around her, and they get into some drug-induced sex that is very, very. It's not problematic. It's illustrative. They're on mushrooms, and all of a sudden things start to happen. I guess that's as far as I can go. The imagery and the shenanigans that he gets up to in book 2 are really, really unique, and the tension was really there. His frustration was really there. His mom as the sort of, is she the good guy or is she the bad guy kind of question was really well explored. The first book is really quite excellent. And I think it won some kind of a children's award. Was it a children's award, or it won something that was very awardful. Okay, so the second book is more about Jared's continuing sobriety, but he has moved to Vancouver, and he's discovered that he has family on his mom's side that has been kept. All of those relatives have been kept from him, And so he comes into the section of Vancouver where there's a lot of housing for natives and of all natives. And so it's a very intense neighborhood. There's people who are just living their best lives and using as many resources as possible that are related to First Nations people. And then there are people who are just deeply traumatized and, just in and out of those kinds of supports. And so Jared has got a new kind of an environment, which is chaotic, not so much through the neighborhood, but through one of his mom's exes who has harmed him significantly in the past, and he returns to this book. And so Jared is dealing with the trauma of this person stalking him, and he's also dealing with his new relationship to the magic and to not so much the lore of so there's not too much in the way of the stories of Trickster and First Woman, and so we're not seeing that sort of Thomas King exploration of the native storytelling that takes place. This is definitely a story book in the sense that we are seeing multiple storylines. We're also seeing not so many different points of view, but Jared's one of these very empathetic people. So we do see him as he listens to the person who's speaking to him, who might be another person from Alcoholics Anonymous. We see him being able to discern and really get to the heart of the matter as to whether he just cuts all the extraneous stuff out and is able to help people hear themselves, I would say. So he's quite a listener. And he's also a smart-ass little shit from time to time. So he will come up with a statement that, as I say, just burns away the extras, and he really nails it. He's pretty frustrated. He's trying to make... Oh, it really got noisy as I'm sitting here. I'm sorry. I'll finish quickly so that you don't have to listen to all this construction. That's frustrating. So he's frustrated again, but for different reasons. He's got everything lined up quite well in order for him to go to secondary school and finish getting his high school bits and pieces so that he can go on to college. He's got a path planned out for him that's going to help him not live a chaotic life. His life choices are definitely the opposite of anything his mom can come up with. But things just keep happening. So one of the better things that happens is that there's a ghost in his auntie's apartment, and he helps Jared study for his biology and physics exams in exchange for being able to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So there's lots of fun things like that. There's a little girl called Eliza who we discover she has certain magical adjacent things now, and she's aware of them. So that's kind of fun because we've got this 4 or 5 year old who's just like, yeah, that's just normal. She sees the same ghosts that Jared is seeing in his living room, and she's like, her ghost, like her best friend is a ghost, so her best friend and the biology professor ghost go take off. They have a riot because they discover, quite accidentally, these two ghosts, they discover that he's out on the road, the professor. So this is a small story spoiler, which I just greatly enjoyed. The professor, he's not a professor, he's the ghost that sits in the chair watching Buffy. He goes out with the other ghost person, and they're standing on the road, and he's not watching what's happening at all. He's just busy, just chatting or whatever. And he turns around and there's this bus bearing down upon him. And he screams because he thinks he's about to be hit by a bus, but he forgets that he's a ghost. So the bus goes right through him, and it's just like, well, that was cool. And so the two of them then proceed to play this kind of game of tag in the streets to see who can get hit by bus vehicles the most. And it's just, yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. So I'm off to read book 3. I'll probably do that next month. And I really love this. I also have another book by Eden Robinson that is unrelated to this series. It's not in here. And there are 3 books that I probably are standalones: Trap Lines, Monkey Beach, and Blood Sports, plus whatever the new release is in there. So that's it for me. I'm going to try and keep it a little bit shorter just because of the background noise. I did have something I wanted. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. I came back inside, but you can still hear the construction noises. It's just, we're doomed this summer. For those of you who are knitters and possibly spinners of wool, or bike spinners, you might get a kick out of this too. This is the time of year called Tour de Fleece, and that is, there's the Tour de France in France, and that's where they ride their bikes all willy-nilly through. And I don't know how many years ago someone came up with the bright idea that people who spin could also be spinning. And so you can't see it, but I have a spinning wheel here that I've had, I don't know, 15 years or something. It's quite a modern little looking thing. And anyways, what that meant is, as far as books are related, I pulled out my old spinning books. So if you're someone who's thought about spinning and didn't really know whether it was going to be for you or not, there are at this moment a whole slew of Tour de Fleece videos out there, and some of them are from people who knit and spin, or they're people who occasionally, like mostly spin and occasionally knit, and so there's quite a cross variation, every possible variation is out there, and you'll get people who are, this is pre-prepared fleece that I'm working on from Cotswold sheep, and my goal, each person sets a goal, and so my goal is to get through that. There's a bunch on the bobbin here, and then I have an equal amount that will go on another bobbin, and then I'll supply the two together. And one of my goals, I don't know if I'm going to follow through, is to maybe dye the yarn before I twist it together to make a knitting yarn. So there's people with all kinds of really cool ideas. Some people have bought themselves a sheep fleece, completely raw, just recently sheared, and they're washing it and they're carding it, and then they're getting to this piece of it. I don't know how they're going to get through that, because it's not a long challenge. It's not a month long. I think it runs from the 4th of July to the 10th of July. So my goal is also just to do 15 minutes a day. So, but for the whole month, because I know that I just don't have 2-3 hours to dedicate to this. But what I did, because it's actually been about 2 years since I've spun, is I pulled out my spinning related books. And I'm going to go with the one that sort of, this one's okay. This is Spin, Dye, and something. Stitch. How to create and use your own yarns. Jennifer Clayton. These books were all published a billion years ago. A whole bunch of publishers that were in the textile world have gone under or have been purchased, bought out by, don't want to talk about it. So when was this one done? 2009. So that means I've probably been spinning since about 2005. So, so what's this? Well, blah, blah. I lost my train of thought entirely. I was so startled by that information. Okay, so this one takes you through some dyeing processes, all the tools that you would need, and all the methods that you would need. It takes you through some spinning information, and I think it also takes you through drop spindle spinning. I have one. I don't love it. I find it irritating. I think it might be fun to just, it might be fun if you're at a demonstration to give it a try, but I'm not convinced. I have seen people who drop spindled religiously, and they will get the most fine, beautiful, luxurious yarns out of it, and then knit it up into intricate lace shawls. Oh my word. But talk about dedication. I mean, this woman that I'm thinking of, she was doing it every time she had a break at work. So 15, 20 minutes a day for years. Not just anyhow. So, and then it tells you a little bit at the end about what you can do with the things that you've spun. I think this is a mediocre book. I think that it's got a little bit of everything, kind of book I would prefer to have got from the library. It doesn't have any, it's got sort of first steps information, which is fine. It's like an entryway book. The next one I got is The Intentional Spinner, A Holistic Approach to Making Yarn, by Judith Mackenzie McCuin. Well, when I opened this book up, goes to show, like, it turns out this is the power of attorney for my mom. Good thing she's still alive. So this one takes you through a lot more. It has got sort of a history of the spinning. It has a number of different kinds of yarns that you might encounter from different kinds of goats, sheep, rabbits. It's got a very nice, somewhere in here there's a breakdown of, if for instance I took this yarn, I could do something crazy like dandelion fluff. I could add it in here and it would change the insulation factors. I could, if I was if I was really keen, I could stop and get a dead raccoon off the ground, off the highway, and I could comb it and I could add that to my fleece, and I'd get a really nice fur yarn that would knit up to an amazing pair of mitts or hat or sock or something, because you'd get the insulating value. So like, people do this. Okay, then it has got some technical information about what is a woolen yarn, what is a worsted yarn, and how you achieve that, and how you pull the yarn and let it go, and how fast, and then it also explains how you use the parts of the wheel. But so this one is a good one. I think that it goes into things a little bit better, and it's got some, if you've more than a beginner, I think this is a nice one. It really explains how to get some novelty yarns, or just how to expand your scope a little bit without having to go really deeply into the craft. You don't have to be going to lessons and so on. You can learn an awful lot just from YouTube and that kind of a book. Now this other book, the one that I like the best in its way, it's the simplest, but in terms of if you're a beginner, and I have no idea if you can even still get this, The Whole Craft of Spinning, from the raw material to the finished yarn, and it is by Kroll. And it's your basic 1980s, I would think. It just feels very 1980s. Yeah, 1981. It is just absolutely drop dead simple. There's just no extraneous stuff in here. You cannot, if you want to know what a bobbin is, you're going to find out what a bobbin is. If you're going to want to know how to wash a fleece, you're going to find out. It's pretty much, oh yeah, this is the one that talks about, you can use cow hair and horse hair and fiber from birds. That's just interesting in terms of reading. Talks a little bit about what to look for when you're buying a wheel. It's got all the kinds of details that you would need to have a successful beginner experience. And then the real thing about spinning is you have to do it more than once every 2 years. I'm not having a bad time with this. There's a little technical problem that I'm encountering right now, and I'm trying to remember, how do I solve that? I mean, once upon a time I knew how to solve it. It's not coming to me. So that meant for you who are like books that basically if you want to go to the library, and I think it's in the 700 section, the craft section, you can get some pretty interesting. Something on the computer is full, but I know so the computer is saying tough luck. So goodbye. And